Welcome back, friends. James Corbett here, corbettreport.com with your thought for the day. And today's thought falls into that category of things so ridiculous you cannot make them up. Or more precisely, you can make them up and then reality will actually overtake you. What am I talking about? I'm talking about this Onion video that I'm sure many of you saw several years ago when it was first released back in 2008, and it's a funny little video from the satirical Onion news website in which a fake mock Al-Qaeda member is debating a fake mock 9/11 truther, and he's basically furious that these 9/11 truthers are trying to say that Al-Qaeda didn't do 9/11. Of course we did it. How can you take the credit away from us? So for those of you who haven't seen this video, I'll just play a short clip here.
Mr. Gerard, how did you arrive at the conclusions in your book? Where are the facts?
Well, through
here?
scientific examination of ground zero. For example, the melted core. I mean, that was definitely evidence that there were thermite bombs that were used in bringing down those buildings.
I can assure you, we did not use thermite bombs. I did the research myself. It would not have worked. We flew an enormous airplane into a building. Okay, I think it is obvious what caused the building to crumble.
Why are you being so close-minded to this, sir? If more
How would
people
you
just
like
had the
it
courage.
if you spent, 2 months in a mountain cave, sleeping on rocks, planning something really special, only to have someone take the credit away from you? Say, oh no, you don't deserve the credit for it.
Open up their minds and learn the truth.
Mr. Gerard.
All right, you get the idea. Ha ha ha. So this is a funny little Onion video from 7 years ago about Al-Qaeda just incensed that apparently these 9/11 truthers are trying to take the credit for 9/11 away from them. Well, that was the Onion in 2008, so that was parody and that was just satire, right? Well, now it's 2015 and it is just sad, mundane reality. For those of you who want more, please go to the Syrian Civil War subreddit where you can find a link to Dabiq 9, They Plot and Allah Plots, which is... well, it's a funny little magazine that's put out by the Islamic State. Yes, ISI, ISIL, ISIS, Daesh, whatever you want to call them. Put out this slick propaganda magazine in English, of course, for recruiting jihadists, I guess. That's the official story. Anyway, They Plot and Allah Plots is issue 9, and as you can see, it's a very sleek-looking, modern-looking magazine with all sorts of nice graphics, and as one of the commenters in the subreddit here notes, LOL when they cite sources, text and graphics from the Crusaders at the Wall Street Journal. So they even cite their sources for their photographs, just in case they're going to get, sued for copyright? I don't know how that works. But anyway, flip through the pages of this virtual magazine and you'll find Conspiracy Theory Shirk. Ooh, what's this article about? Well, it says, for example, if jihad operations like those of September 11th were carried out against the kuffar, i.e. non-Muslims, they would claim these operations were conspiracies by the kuffar to justify their aggression against Muslims. Or, if the mujahideen announced an Islamic State, they would say that the kuffar facilitated such so as to justify their continued interference in Muslim affairs. And so, according to these theorists, almost all the events of the world were somehow linked back to the kuffar, their intelligence agencies, research, technology, and co-conspirators. One of the worst aspects of these theories is that they require no evidence, just foolish deductions, in sneer quotes. And they actually end the article by going through some of the arguments against conspiracy theories, and they sound suspiciously like probably every such theory or anti-conspiracy theory you've ever heard from any of the mainstream puppets who just toe the government line, like grand conspiracies consist of so many factors only controllable by Allah. An example of such a grand conspiracy theory is that of September 11th being carried out by the Americans themselves. How many members of the Crusader government would have to be under permanent watch to prevent news of the operation getting out before its execution? How many involved mouths would have to be silenced all over the world to keep such a conspiracy from not being exposed after the fact? How many other matters would have to be guaranteed to preserve the conspiracy? So there you are. Here we are in the official, well, not Al-Qaeda, but Al-Qaeda in Iraq, ISI, ISIS, ISIL publication, their sleek, glossy magazine, decrying the conspiracy theorists because they're cutting into their recruitment campaigns and basically undermining the glory of these jihadists. And interestingly, okay, here we are. One of the worst aspects of these theories is that they require no evidence, just foolish deductions. Well, I would suggest if ISIS is watching that they look up what deductions means, because of course that would have something to do with evidence. But anyway, no evidence, really? Well, let's take a look at some evidence then. So people may have seen this story come out last week from Judicial Watch. Judicial Watch: Defense State Department documents reveal Obama administration knew that al-Qaeda terrorists had planned Benghazi attack 10 days in advance. So this has been picked up by Fox News and the other right-wing outlets in the U.S. in the phony left-right game because, this is evidence the State Department and the Defense Department knew the Benghazi attack was an al-Qaeda attack, blah, blah, blah. Which, again, is part of this fake Benghazi Gate scandal that they want to keep perpetuating because it feeds into the left-right paradigm. It's just that the State Department, the Defense Department, didn't keep us safe from those dastardly al-Qaeda terrorists. That's what the real story is. So that's the way Fox and Judicial Watch spun these documents. And I suggest you go back and actually take a look at this article. It'll be linked in the show notes, and go and look through these documents for yourself, because you'll find some very interesting pieces of the puzzle that they don't highlight in this reporting here at Judicial Watch or on Fox News or places like that. And one of those aspects is that the U.S. government was overseeing, and thus by implication complicit in, the running of arms from Libya to Syria through Benghazi, exactly as crazy conspiracy theorists like yours truly and many others were pointing out at the time. In fact, if you go back and listen to interview 876 in my archives, there I am on the Ed and Ethan podcast talking in great detail with lots of different sources, mainstream sources even, about how Benghazi was ultimately about trying to keep the wraps and the lid on the gun running that they were doing at the time to feed the Syrian opposition from Libya via Benghazi. And that's an incredible story, and that's confirmed. Now, just in case anyone was out there thinking, that's just crazy conspiracy theory. No, we actually have it confirmed from these internal DoD documents, so please go read them for yourself. But that's not all these documents contain. As Corbett Report listener and Twitter user Steve Chovanec points out, that's not all they reveal. And he wrote an article talking about how the U.S. aided ISIS and the fall of Mosul and Ramadi. And very interesting. He examines one of these documents, DoD Defense Intelligence Agency document, dated August 2012, talking about the situation in Syria and Iraq and the deterioration that was happening in Syria at the time, where the various opposition was becoming more sectarian in nature. And this document is interesting. If you go and read it, it talks about, for example, if the situation unravels there, remember this is August 2012, if the situation unravels there in Syria, the possibility is of establishing a declared or undeclared Salafist principality in eastern Syria. And this is exactly what the supporting powers to the opposition want in order to isolate the Syrian regime, which is considered the strategic depth of the Shia expansion, Iraq and Iran. Interesting. Well, who are the Western powers? As Steve Chovanec goes on to note, well, they're identified in this document as being the West, Gulf countries, and Turkey. So yes, let's read that again. The West is actually wants the declaration of a Salafist principality in eastern Syria. So that's 2012, and lo and behold, the next year we have the sudden remarkable rise of ISIS out of nowhere and the declaration of Islamic State. Wow, it's like they got everything they wanted wrapped up in a little bow for them. And it's exactly what they said they wanted to have happen. So there's a little bit of evidence for you, and you can keep plowing through this article. I suggest you do. Again, all the links will be in the show notes, so you can go through these documents for yourself and go through these articles and pull them apart and show, you know what? You can cry all you want about these dastardly conspiracy theorists with no evidence, Islamic State, if that is your real name. But and you can, basically echo The Onion from 7 years ago. But the evidence is here in black and white that, in fact, yes, the West really was supporting your rise, and that's why you were allowed, for example, to take Mosul back in 2013, 2014, when this sudden rise out of nowhere came about of ISIS. Yeah, right. And it just goes on from there. So there you go. more evidence to add to the conspiracy theory mill. For those of you out there, assuming there is anyone who by some minor miracle has not been exposed to 9/11 truth yet, you might want to start with my 9/11 conspiracy theory video and the related text here with all of the links to all of the sources cited so that you can go and start exploring the story. And when you're ready for more, just type 9/11 into the search bar on Corbett Report and you'll have hundreds, literally hundreds of hours of audio and video and articles to go through about the 9/11 false flag. So there you go. So ridiculous you can't make it up. Or actually, you can make it up and then it'll come true. Once again, this is James Corbett, corbettreport.com, signing off.